Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast, or depending on which platform you're on, maybe video of employee to entrepreneur. So, this is going to be a fun little conversation, hopefully. And this is the second time that I'm recording this today because the first time I recorded the whole thing and then found out afterwards that the camera shut itself off after 2 minutes. So, you're getting the already rehearsed bit now, which is great, right? Of course, it's a little bit darker now, so the picture isn't quite that good, but it doesn't matter for you guys on the podcast. So let's get started. So I thought it may be helpful for you if I just put you through what I've done already, because this is going to give you a starting point both for those of you who want to become entrepreneurs, and are employees right now, but also for those who are trying to help employees to become entrepreneurs, right? So where I started out, I was a lawyer at a bank, basically. It wasn't really the thing that I really wanted to do, but I had a good career going, and the people there I really liked, and they were kind of like my family. It wasn't really the environment that I was all that comfortable with, also not necessarily the value system that I was comfortable with, but I was okay. It had its upside, had a great canteen, had a good money and, insurance and all that. And then something happened and my career was over. It wasn't my fault. I had absolutely no control over it, but it followed me around in the industry. And turns out, if you work, in that particular industry, at the top, there's very, very few, and they all know each other. And whatever stories are being put out for whatever reasons will follow you around. So at that point, I decided I needed to do something else. I didn't know yet that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I knew I had to find something where I could go into something else than legal, because all I was doing really was legal derivatives, which is a very, very, very small market for, very, very few people. So I wanted to get not just out of derivatives, but out of legal altogether, and find something that had a much broader range. But I also wanted to have a geographical range, because I didn't want to be stuck just in England, for example. You never know what I Brexit wasn't actually on the horizon yet at that point. It was just before, but I could sense that something was coming. So I thought, okay, I need something else. So after that little incident, again, which had nothing to do with me really, it was something somebody else did. But anyway, so it kept following me around. I realized, okay, I'm in a project now. Why don't I do and start looking at project management? Because I was leading this project and it was against all expectations. It was quite successful. So I thought, okay, let's look into project management. So I did Prince 2, I did Agile PM, and it was interesting, right? And then I thought, okay, I'm also doing change management. I've been doing a lot of change management this entire time, basically, because even when I first started with banks, I was doing change management, even when I wasn't called a change manager, because a lot of the changes had happened. I had just started working at the first bank that I had worked at just before the credit crunch hit. So I had to change things around in my job simply to survive in the job. So I knew a lot about that too. So I studied change management as well. So there's a course called APMG Change Management, which I did, which was interesting. And then for reasons that I'm going to go into as well, it turned out that wasn't really for me either. So I did events management, looked into events management. Somebody suggested it to me, and it made sense to me because I had worked as an actress beforehand. Before I had worked in banks, and I was always into events, and I used to sing in a 60s band and stuff. So I thought events could actually be something really interesting. And I had recovered my career silently behind the scenes, and even made quite a bit more money than in the employed job. But policies do get quite extreme, especially if you are a consultant, because then you're coming in from the outside. And it turned out that wasn't really for me either, because I didn't really want to be in a confrontational situation all this time. And then I hit the wall at some point. Um, there was an incident that I really couldn't deal with, and I decided, okay, I have to get out of this completely, or at least I have to have other options. So at that point, I went home. I quit the project I was on. I went home and I wanted to look at my favorite episode on TV, just to get my mind over things. And I went through Netflix, and of course, it had run out of episodes, as it would. right? So I'm going through Netflix and I'm flicking through and I see this documentary which is called I Am Not Your Guru. And I thought, what a weird name. And that's probably, some I don't know. And I just went further down and then I went up again and I thought, what an interesting picture. Well, I went further down again. And then I went further up again and clicked on it. And that changed my life. And I went to, I looked at that documentary and I thought, this is it. But I thought, okay, this can't actually, this is too good to be true. This can't be for real. So I thought I have to check this guy out. So that guy was Tony Robbins, of course. And I looked online and I had never seen him before, although I had lived in the same places. Everybody basically knows him except for me. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And then I realized that he was speaking in London, where I was at the time, 2 weeks later at an event called the National Achievers Congress. Also a weird name, I thought, but I thought, okay, I have to check him out. So I went there, and for, again, weird reasons, I ended up in the second row and right in front of him. And it changed my life. That event changed my life. It was such a beautiful event. And at the time, I was so naive about selling. I didn't realize he was selling me. I mean, I ended up spending $12,000 on him, in the next 4 months, but I didn't realize he was selling me. He's such a good marketeer and salesperson that I didn't realize he was selling me, but he also really cared. And he gave me a couple of tips, which actually changed my life. And I lost 42 pounds in the next 2 months. And that actually sold me because I had tried to lose weight for such a long time. He just gave me a tip. He looked at me, gave me a tip, and that was it. That was the one linchpin that I needed to get there. So anyway, so I went to other events and then he does these closed eye processes. And I went there and then I got the first glimpse of a future, a compelling future. Before all this project management and change management, it was just kind of, what else can I do that I can survive? It wasn't something that I was particularly excited about. It was, okay, it's going to be, okay, it's going to be fine, but it wasn't. But there, finally, I saw something. This is something that I could really, really get behind, and that was a real revelation. So I also went to his business mastery course. Now, what I got out of all of these, this is not where I ended up necessarily. Where I ended up afterwards is going to be a lot of sales and marketing, but I'm telling you how I got there. So what was good about all of these was project and change management. They gave me an insight into management. They gave me a geographical advantage because I could go to different industries as well as different countries, for example, and it opened up the world a bit. Event management gave me a foundation for the future, for any kind of events I want to have, either online or offline. Coaching, I started coaching because I saw that he was a coach, right? Tony Robbins is a coach, and this is how he started out. So I thought, okay, I'll study coaching with him, and I did that. Study Robbins Madonna's training. And that was incredibly valuable for me personally because it opened up a lot of my own life to me, which means I could help other people, but also it helped me. I went through a lot of things that I never actually realized, and that was incredibly helpful. I had a first coaching client and I really loved that. I really loved helping somebody else. And that was the first time that I actually really decided, okay, this is really something that I would love to do. And I ended up doing events later, which is going to be something, that I'm going to cover in another podcast. And that was really something that I thought, okay, this is really it. Then coaching is also really valuable for if you are a speaker at events, because sometimes people stand up and they have problems, and then you have these things that you can give them and these techniques that you can give them to help them, right? And it also has a lot to do with influencing thing and leadership. Business Master itself, it gave me an overview over entrepreneurship and all the different areas that you have to take a look at, which I wasn't aware of before. It was a little bit over my head, to be honest. But it gave me an insight, a kind of an overview. Okay, these are the areas that you have to look at. This is what's really important. And these are the people, at the tops of their industries where you can find this information, which was incredibly valuable as well. It also gave me an idea on how to save on my mortgage, which would have probably saved me $10,000 if I had, or £10,000 if I had kept the house that I had at the time. And it gave me an idea about geographical arbitrage. Now, the challenges with all of these were project management, not really for me. It's a very linear thing, it's a very masculine thing. And my project management, I mean, the project management that I did really worked out really well. But that is because a lot of times I had an incredible latitude because I was more or less by myself in the way that I could structure things and the way that I could execute things as well. If I had had 100 people relying on me, I couldn't have switched as many times as I did, which was really helpful for me, but which would have been difficult for other people. And I would have had to be much straighter, much more aligned, which isn't really the way I work because I work very intuitively. Change management sounded really good, and I've been doing it for a very long time, and it really worked out for me really well. However, in reality, if you actually call yourself a change manager and apply for a job, you end up as a secretary for the legal department, at least, in the area that I was working in. And that wasn't what I had in mind. Change management, but even if you really do change management as a change manager, as what you think a change manager is, it still is very, very political because you go in and change other people's work, which they a lot of times don't like. And even if it's a very beneficial change, there is research, I think it's from IBM, that says that at least 17% of people will always object to a change and they will actively try to sabotage it. It's not just the silent minor or majority that doesn't actually want the change, but they will actually sabotage it. So there's a lot of stuff attached to it, a lot of political stuff attached to it, and I didn't want to fight all the time. So that's why I kind of thought, okay, maybe this isn't for me either. Events management was interesting, but then I didn't really know, what events to do at that point. But we will get to that later. Business mastery, again, was a little bit over my head at the time, but it was a really good guide of what to learn at the time. Coaching, great for me personally. Absolutely, the one of the best things I've ever done for me personally. And one-on-one, it was great to work with my coaching client, but it is also a one-on-one swapping time for money thing. So if you just do coaching, there's a cap to it. And also it can be, if you do full-time coaching, you're basically dealing with the problems of people all the time. So you get a lot of negativity your way. And after a while, that can probably, just as like with other helping professions like psychologists, that can also affect you at some point. So I thought, okay, I like coaching, I will do it, but not full-time maybe. The thing that's also challenging for it, only because you're a great coach and you have got these awesome techniques and you can really help people, you've done it in the past, doesn't mean that people come flocking to you. Because you have to do sales and marketing. And I had no idea how to do sales and marketing. I mean, I had worked as a consultant for about 5 years or 6 years or something in the industry that I was in, but I had never done B2C marketing. And even the B2B marketing that I didn't actually do because the banks just handed me on, from project to project. I never actually had to do any marketing myself. There were agents who would just call me out of the blue and say, hey, do you want to do this? And I said, okay, fine. Right. So that was an area that was completely new to me. Turns out that business is innovation and marketing. That's what Peter Drucker says. So marketing was a really big part, and I decided I really needed to learn this. Also, I had the nagging feeling that there was also something else within me that I was supposed to be looking at. That was the first time at the UPW where I saw this opening. That was the first glimpse that I had from this win-win situation that I'm now focusing on nowadays, that was going to be my endpoint. But I had no idea how to get there. So this is where I was. So I decided marketing needed to be something that I needed to learn. So this is the sales and marketing journey that I'm taking you on now. So I had zero experience. I didn't know what value-added marketing was. I didn't understand anything about selling from the stage, nothing. And there's a lots of sharks out there. Lots of sharks who will sell you marketing, but then, just kind of keep on some information out of it, or sell you information that worked 5 years ago but doesn't work nowadays, or they give you an overview in that £2,000 course, and then you have to buy the £20,000 coaching package to actually make it work because they don't give you the details. The details that you really need for it to work. That's not all of them. Some are really good, but you can't put everything in sales and marketing that the greatest and the great in the business are doing, which are kind of how you're competing against, into one little course. So you will always have to, there's always more. So I decided, so how do I do this? I didn't realize all of this at the NAC yet, but I did see some things that I really like. Tony Robbins, no matter how much money I spent on him, and it's more than the 12,000 now, it was always worth it. But some of the people that I saw, not only there, but later as well, yeah, I thought, probably not, you know. Um, so I decided, how do I do this? And I just picked Tony Robbins as my mentor, whether he knew it or not, because he was the top billing guy. He is probably the best marketeer and salesperson in the world. And why don't you want to learn from the best? So I decided to learn from the best. I don't have to necessarily work one-to-one on him. I could never afford that, but I can see what he does. And the more often I go to his events, the more often the more I will recognize. And then you go to other people's events as well, and they will tell you, if Tony does that, that's what he's doing. If he does that, that's what he's doing. And all these little things that he does, he gets audience participation, he gets them to say yes. They all have a reason that is also sales related, not just coaching related. That is what is really brilliant about what he does. This UPW event, for example, is probably the most brilliant combination that I've seen of coaching and helping people and really getting them to a point that really, really helps them, where the same things that he does for that are also great sales techniques and are also fun. So it's an incredibly well designed course. So I went on it several times just to take a look at it. So I started to look at all these courses, but this is not going. I'm not going to just discuss Tony Robbins for the next 16 podcasts or whatever. But I will discuss, this is just, events that I went to. It's not the only events that I went to. I also studied coaching. I kept studying coaching until I had the master coaching, not qualification, but I studied all of the master coaching course. And then I went on trying out all the different things in marketing and sales that I was told by different marketeers. Some of it I got out of books, some of it I got out of courses. And I'm not going to necessarily take you down to which course what came out of, but just simply what I did. And just to give you a little of an overview, all the different things that I'll be discussing in the next podcast is selling from the stage, a website, lead magnets as PDFs, wrote a book, sales videos as creatives, creating a video course, started a blog, posted regularly on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, created a webinar to sell the video course, Facebook ads, a funnel. We figured out what the funnel is. The science of writing copy, which I also figured out is a science, using geographical arbitrage, found out what a mastermind is. 16-day episode of free video training to sell the mastermind. Started DMing people on Facebook Messenger. That is going to be an interesting episode. That was a rather interesting experience. Did a month-long love challenge. Did a plastic challenge as well, as it happened. Tested out a money job to give me information or context for this win-win thing that I wanted to do for my mastermind. Also volunteered at the Oceanographic to do the same and find people to both speak at it, but also attend it. Started affiliate marketing just to see what the big ones are doing, to see what kind of copy they're doing, to take a view behind the scene, which was incredibly interested. Double down on the concept of the perfect client again. Online marketing was probably not for me. I found out at that point, and I will tell you why I thought that at the time. So I decided I'd go into live events, and that is how I get my clients in. I got the first live event. I had 2 live events that I prepared, and I got the first client, and then COVID-19 hit, and it was all done. So I went back to online marketing again, sectioned my audience. I will tell you all about that. Almost went crazy over it, and then decided not to do it at all. Tried LinkedIn instead. Found out about challenges. I'm doing a challenge now. I'm preparing it right now. Read another marketing book. Found out yet something else about Facebook. What this whole algorithm thing is about, and why all these things that I had done in the past didn't really work out. That was an interesting revelation, I can tell you. Podcasts, YouTube, and well, all these different things and all these things, what worked, what didn't work, why I think it didn't work, and what I would do nowadays. I'll discuss all of those. So for those of you who are in sales and marketing, it will probably be just a big laugh. For those who are on this journey, you can take a look. I'll give you a little bit of a hint of why certain things didn't work for me and what I found out like a year or two later, what I should have been doing, which may be helpful for you. And for those who make courses for employees to become entrepreneurs, maybe it will give you a little bit of an insight how an employee thinks, because they think different than an entrepreneur who has an entrepreneurial gene already. And it may help you a little bit to tweak certain things and stress certain things a little bit more, because I realized that what I just found out, people have been giving me this hint for a while already. But I got this hint, but I also got all these other information, right? What I didn't realize is this hint is the only thing that I can probably, get clients from, while all this other stuff is stuff that I should be doing later. I didn't realize that at the time. And maybe for somebody who is in the beginning of the journey, that would be really helpful. So I hope this is going to be helpful for you. I hope you're going to get something out of it. So next time it is going to be the course of speaking on stage and my first few on stage live events. And we're going to be discussing that in the next podcast. And I can tell you what worked, what didn't work, why I think it didn't work. And you're going to have probably a bit of fun there. All right, so see you next time. And this will be published every Tuesday and every Friday. I'll try to stick to 7 o'clock every Tuesday and Friday. And it will be a podcast and probably going to be on Apple. It's going to be on our website, www.neville.co.uk. It will also be on YouTube. So please do subscribe if you think this could be interesting to you, and tell your friends and family. And I hope you see you again.